Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to you. Hope you have some awesome plans coming up this weekend. If you guys have not done it yet, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for me. Both of those things help me out a ton. In the video today, I have 4 buys and 2 sells. It was really difficult for me to find a couple sells this week, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I have a couple that I think are worth your time. So sit down, have a drink, and let me talk this out with you. If you have any questions about trades, drop them down below. I would love to be able to help you out. If you agree or disagree with my takes, I want to hear about that too. The conversation helps make us all better. And at the end of the day, that is all that any of us are really trying to do. So with that done, let's get into buy sell. My first buy is Jamar Chase. So far this season, Chase has certainly been a letdown to owners after balling out in week number 1 and giving us all hope. He has come crashing down to earth. He's got 4 straight finishes outside of the top 25, and 3 finishes of those were outside of wide receiver 36 range, so not even flex consideration there. Those that drafted him are likely second guessing their decision to invest, and that opens up for us the perfect opportunity as a buyer to swoop in and get the spoils that are coming. Chase is currently 5th in the NFL in targets, and he's seen his target share rise from about 25% last year to nearly 28% as T. Higgins has missed time in this Cincinnati offense. He's actually seeing nearly 3 more targets per game than last year with that historical rookie season that he put up. So the usage remains elite, even though the production has not been there yet. Now the Bengals offense, I think we can all agree, has struggled early on mightily. There's no doubt about it. But I would argue that that was to be expected when we consider that Joe Burrow was not there for all of training camp and preseason. There was rust on this team and on Burrow, but that is beginning to come off. The turnaround is coming, and it has already started to show itself. Once Cincinnati gets clicking, and I believe that they will, there are few teams in the NFL that can slow them down, and Jamar Chase is going to be one of, if not the biggest beneficiary of that. The talent that he's already showcased, combined with the looks that he is currently getting, adds up to a top 5 receiver, which when all is said and done, he will be at the end of the year. I would take Chase over any receiver not named Kupp, Diggs, Jefferson, and maybe Devontae Adams as well, but that is the list. That's the extent of it, no one else. Even as the current wide receiver 18, I doubt you're going to be able to pull him cheap, but he is worth the expense. I would love to package him with someone that is at their peak, like Marquise Brown or Tyler Lockett, throw in a decent piece on top to get the deal done. Next up is A.J. Dillon. It's back to the other side of the tracks for him. I had him as a sell candidate in week number 1, and after that, he has failed to get inside of the top 30 even once. He's seen his stock plummet to the lowest that it has been, and that is the perfect time to buy. Owners are probably wondering what the heck happened to their running back 2 with massive upside. So we need to jump at this chance to take him off their hands. After seeing 15 touches or more in every game this season, he only saw 6 last week against the Giants in London. We can use that dip to leverage the cost of acquiring him. Dillon is still the 1B in the Green Bay offense. The Packers' best way of moving the ball still is on the ground, regardless of if they're willing to admit it right now or not. They are going to figure it out, and the usage that was really solid up until last week's Mirage will return. The touchdowns are going to come back for him as well. He has just 1 on the season, and he is currently on a 4-game scoreless streak. Dillon is still seeing the majority of the goal line work, and that is a great way of predicting future success in the end zone. If nothing else, the main reason that people liked A.J. Dillon in the first place is still here. If anything were to happen to Aaron Jones, Dillon would immediately become a top 15 back with a massive ceiling and league-winning upside. That is really hard to come by, and it rarely is cheap. However, Dillon should be, as the current running back 33 with a newfound floor that is basically nothing. You should be able to make a move on him for a flex of your own, probably one that has had more recent success. Make the investment now. The next guy I am buying is Kyler Murray, and while he is not exactly a buy low per se, because he's quarterback 5, he has not had the season that I, as an owner, was expecting. He's been buoyed by his rushing work, and that is normal, but he's had just one game with 3 touchdowns and one game with 300 yards passing. This opens up a crack in the door for a foot to get in, and I suggest busting through it to make an offer. With the impending return of DeAndre Hopkins, I expect Kyler Murray to take a leap. He's going to have one of the game's top receivers to help pull coverage from current wide receiver 1 Hollywood Brown, and Nuke is also a big-time red zone threat. It's going to make the passing attack extremely versatile and dangerous. In addition, the running game is going to see lighter boxes, which makes either James Conner or whoever happens to be healthy in Arizona's backfield at that time a more serious threat, and Kyler Murray himself is going to have more room to scamper for first downs and pick up yardage on the ground. In short, this Arizona offense is going to take off, and once that happens, there is zero chance of acquiring him. Murray was in the MVP race in the middle of last season prior to his injury, and he could certainly get there again with the talent that he has at his disposal. The big time numbers are coming. For the rest of the season, I would take Murray over everyone not named Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, and maybe Jalen Hurts. If you can sell high and package someone like Geno Smith, maybe Carson Wentz, and then either a running back 2 or a wide receiver 2 on top of it to get the deal done, I would not ask any questions. The last buy that I have is Travis Etienne. The changing of the guard appears to be happening in Jacksonville, but there is still an opportunity here to jump on the train before it is too late. Over the last 2 weeks, Etienne has played more snaps, and he's been given more opportunities than presumed starter James Robinson. The efficiency has favored Etienne for basically the entire year, so we were just waiting on the touches to come, and that time seems to be now. While Robinson has sputtered over the last 2 weeks, number 4 and 5, he's averaged 9 carries and 28 yards. That's a little over 3 yards per clip for my mathematicians out there. Etienne has thrived, nearly doubling up Robinson with 18 carries of his own for 103 yards. Robinson's usage in the passing game is also basically slim to none. He has just 9 targets on the season. He is not going to threaten Etienne's work there, and it is very clear as to why that is. Etienne is averaging well over 10 yards per catch, and once again, nearly double the looks there. So it would be crazy for the Jags to even consider giving receptions out of the backfield to anybody but him. The pedigree of Etienne also has to be taken into consideration. Jacksonville spent a premium pick, and Trevor Lawrence basically begged for them to take him for a reason. While it is likely going to be a split backfield for most of this season, that does not mean that they can't go more and more towards the favor of the young gun. Finally, and maybe most importantly, the Jags are not the good to great team that they looked like early on, and that is just fine if you are buying Etienne. Because if they're down, which now seems to be more and more likely, the passing game work is his, and that is the more valuable piece anyways. As the current RB35, you are not going to have to invest heavily in him, but he has still got a good shot at giving you solid RB2 numbers consistently sooner rather than later. He also has awesome matchups for almost the entire rest of the season, so that is just an added bonus. Go get a deal done before it is obvious that this is not just J-Rob's backfield. If I can swap someone like Zeke Elliott for him, I am pulling the trigger. From my previous buy sells, players that I am still trying to acquire include Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Kyle Pitts, and Deontay Johnson. Now let's hop into my sells, just a pair of them, and I'm going to start with Lazard. This makes 2 Packers on my list, so I feel a little dirty, but at least I am not buying them both. The reasons to sell Lazard kinda, sorta, almost mirror the reasons that I am buying Dillon to an extent. I believe that Green Bay is going to be a run-heavy team. It is their clearest path to success, and after losing to New York to drop to 3-2, they are aware that a change is necessary. This is going to bring us to the passing game, which remains a mystery for them week in and week out. In every single game this season so far, a different player has led the team in receiving. Sammy Watkins even got in on the fun, and none other than A.J. Dillon himself was the one to do it in week number 1. Now, all of this does not even take into account the slow start from Christian Watson, who Green Bay traded up to take early in the second round. He is likely to get more involved as the season goes on as well. As an owner, you have absolutely no clue who Rodgers is going to go to on a weekly basis, and that makes it very hard to start Lazard with any confidence. He has racked up 209 yards in 4 games, so at first glance, that does seem decent, but when you look at the game logs, it tells a different tale. Outside of that week 4 performance where he did have a great game, it has been nothing but scraps for him. He has production of 13 yards, 45 yards, and 35 yards. That is an extremely painful floor. Right now, he is viable because he's been finding the end zone, but that is the most fluky stat in all of fantasy football. Lazard has scored in 3 out of the 4 games he's played in, but that is not sustainable, and when the tutties dry up, Lazard is going to be nothing but bench fodder, and you've lost your window to sell him off. So offload him now while you still can. He's finished as a top 28 guy in 3 straight, so it is very possible that you can pull a more consistent and dependable flex option for him, and maybe even a low-end wide receiver too if you are able to sell him off as the Packers wide receiver 1. We know that he's not, but the buyer doesn't have to know that. Tyler Higbee is my other sell. It is really odd to promote selling a tight end for the 2nd straight week, by the way, when the landscape is so brutal at the position, but we have to pounce on an opportunity when it arises. Higbee is the current tight end 7. He's consistently been a target hog in the Rams offense all season long. He's never dropped below tight end 17, and he has been a top 12 guy in each of his last 4 games. Basically, he's been lights out. So if it seems at this point like I am buying him instead of selling him, I am getting to the sell, I promise. We'll start with this. I think we can all agree that the Rams offense is pretty much broken. It is not working. For all of the trash talk that we do about the Bears offense being bad, they have outscored LA. It has been that bad. Higbee's massive involvement in this offense has not translated to success for this team, so I cannot imagine that they're just going to continue to feed him the ball in order to make managers happy. I am a believer in Sean McVay, and I think that he finds a way to figure this out and turn the ship around, and when that happens, I expect a massive shift in their offensive approach, which ultimately leads to less targets for Higbee. What he has done thus far is not sustainable. He cannot continue to see nearly 10 targets a game in an offense that is broken. It just hasn't worked. At his current peak, with the lack of other options out there at the tight end position, I am assuming that the right buyer would give a haul for his services, and that is something that I would love to capitalize on. If you can get an underperforming Kyle Pitts, maybe even to a lesser extent George Kittle, straight up, which does seem plausible, I am making that deal. As far as players that I am still selling from previous videos, Marquise Brown is one of them, and the other is Zeke Elliott. And that is all I got for buy sell in week number 6. Hope you guys pulled some useful information from it. Hope you learned something. Please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Those both help me out so very much. To all my current subscribers out there, thank you, thank you, thank you. Could not, would not do it without you. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Avery Emotpats, and I'll see you next time.